Hello, friends. How are you today? Well, today I'd like to talk about the new moon energies, the new moon of August 27th. I have been really wrestling with these energies. I found them very challenging, and so I decided to do a video to figure it out for myself and share that with you. I've been meaning to get back into my moon videos and astrology videos in general. So this is a part of that. Thank you for being here. If you could like the video and subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. That really helps me. And let's get into what is the meaning here? Why am I using Venus de Milo, the birth of Venus, to talk about this new moon chart? The new moon chart is pretty challenging because it's got this grand square here and then oppositions within. Square, cross, that's a lot of challenge. And it's interesting because all of this is in the mid to late teens on the chart, and including 20 degrees. But the new moon occurs at 4 degrees of Virgo. So what does this all mean? It's fascinating because the new moon is in Virgo, which is a mutable sign. So change is coming, right? And it's a sign ruled by Gemini, which rules our thoughts. What you'll notice on the chart is that there's a grouping of planets and asteroids around the lower degrees around the moon and sun degrees. So you've got Mercury at 1, the midheaven is at 5. Well, actually that's from my area, the West Coast, San Francisco. Jupiter is at 7, Mars is at 4, the asteroid Victory is at 5, and the asteroid Abundance is at 6, and Varuna, the god of the sea who binds sinners and brings justice, is at 6. So these are all the influences, the potent influences upon this moon. I'm calling this the radical new moon, and I'll tell you why in a second. See, at these lower degrees, we're very young, right? It's young. It's a new experience. Experientially, it's something that we haven't done before. We're taking steps to expand and grow ourselves in a new form, and it's so perfect for the mutable sign. The reason I put the chart like this, okay, with the midheaven essentially in Scorpio, is because Venus here on the right is the power player in this chart. You can't tell that by essential dignities. It's strong, but not the strongest by essential dignities. By essential dignities, the stronger planets would be, for example, Jupiter here, which is in a quincunx with the new moon. So that's a spiritual formation, a quincunx. It speaks to a spiritual mission, and the resolution of these things isn't easy, but it is big because Jupiter is involved, and it does bring big change because the sun and the new moon are in Virgo. Virgo, the traditional house of work, how we live, our health. So this implies big changes in day-to-day life. There is a yod to Venus, and that's part of why I talked about Venus being the power player here, the yod being the finger of God that points to what God wants to see unfolding, what the divine wishes to see unfold in the chart. And that is the energy of Venus in Leo. The yod involves Pluto. Oh, sorry, not Pluto. The yod involves Metis at 20 degrees, although Pluto is moving towards her. Pluto is 6 degrees away, which is wide for an asteroid. But Metis has recently passed over Pluto, as has Nike. This is the goddess of wisdom and the goddess of victory. Metis is not only the goddess of wise counsel, she's also somewhat crafty, because it's Metis that gave Kronos, Saturn, a drink that put him to sleep for a period of time so that other activities could transpire. So let's be a little grateful now. Let's be grateful that Metis has retrograded back into Capricorn so far, because having someone like her in the energies of Capricorn and moving back and forth over the energies of Pluto in Capricorn seems like a very good thing at this time. What I mean by that is she's likely, when the planet is close to her, right, within like maybe 3 degrees, but definitely 2 degrees or 1 degree or exact, that her influence is most felt. But she's likely to take a situation and in her wise and also crafty way, assist in turning it towards the highest good. The other side of the yod, the other wing, is Juno in Pisces. And Juno, the clan mother, the one who looks out over the future generations and says, what will we build here? And builds the future based on marriages, based on the interplay of the relationships of people within the clan. She gives favor to some. She takes away her favor from others. She arranged marriages for some. She arranges babies from specific parents. And as she does all these things, it's to foster the longevity of her people. And right now she's in retrograde in Pisces. So this is all under review. And the overarching theme is the spiritual unfoldment of the people. And thank goodness for that. Because, as we'll see in a minute, that's going to be one of the keys here for success moving forward, especially in these energies. I said on one of my other videos that this new moon is also almost like a full moon, in that full moons can be more challenging because you had an activation at the new moon, and now you're invited to bring that activation into the world and get it done, right? Have the completion, which comes at the end of the full moon period. Well, it's very interesting, and I want to thank my girlfriend Alex, because we chatted about a lot of these topics today, and it really helped me get centered and focused on this. But it's interesting because the natural new year starts in March, April, around Easter. Now, on the Gregorian calendar year, the year ends in December. And as we look at entering September here, one has the feeling of winding up the year. Oh, for a lot of people, school is starting. We're getting into the fall. It's getting colder. And there's this idea of wrapping up. But no, this is not the energy of the moment. The natural cycle presents to us the opportunity to gather and marshal our forces and our energies and push forward into the second half of the natural new year, because we are only at the beginning of the middle of the year in natural cycles. And so we are meant to gather our strength and gather our energies and to move forward. And I'm talking about the Northern Hemisphere here. Obviously. So if you're from down under, you can just flip the time, flip it around for yourself. But at any rate, yes, so we are in the middle of the year, and there's an invitation here to press forward. So the issue is there's an invitation to press forward, but we're young in our energies as we look at this new moon unfolding. We're very young. And what is called up for us, right? Because we're at 4 degrees here with the moon and the sun. And we're at 1 degrees here with Mercury. Well, thank goodness Jupiter is a little further along, and it's the strongest in terms of essential dignities on the chart. And we have victory and abundance at our back. But we're young, and we have a big task ahead of us. And this is where I want to talk about the radical new moon. As we were looking at the shape of the astrology chart, and I do have some asteroids on there, as you've probably already noticed, but as we look at the shape of that chart, Alex was telling me that she felt a recall to this image of Venus de Milo. And I said to her, oh my goodness, that's amazing, because Venus has a yod in this chart. And it's interesting because you look at Venus and say, how can she be standing there on a shell? A shell has a rounded bottom. There's no flat there for her to stand on. It's interesting too, because at Venus's birth, she was birthed fully formed. So as we are young in these energies of the new moon, and that means that we're just at the beginning of the change, it appears. But we have everything we need moving forward already built inside us. And that's important as we move forward, to understand and to know that it's already there. Divinity has placed it in you. What you wish to be, to achieve, is already within. It's the understanding of how to uncover as the crow lands across from me, how to uncover these from the depths of our being. Thank you, crow. So Venus, how does she stay centered, standing on the shell? Her centering is like the centering of the gyroscope that spins and is centered around that spin in the gravity of the motion. Her centering is the centering of the hurricane around the eye of the storm, within which all is calm and all is well. Her centering is the centering one feels in prayer, connecting with God and musing on those inner whisperings one feels in that energies, the inner love one can feel from the divine. Her centering is that of 0 point, the energetic balance within that comes from the pure connection with divinity expressed in form. Her centering is the centered stillness of the one meditating as life goes on. And that one meditating, that one praying, that one in 0 point can bring that out into the world and live it. And this is the change. This is where we are young. This is where we have all the potential to move forward in our lives and to rebuild our society from the illusions and the delusions in which we have been mired. Venus is within, man or woman, because Venus represents value. And the truest value is the human form carrying the human soul, which is of the divine, which is of the spark of God that you are. And you are worthy as a living human because you have this within you. Now let's take a look at the astrology chart. I called this the radical new moon because it's a radical new way of looking at things that allows the fixed to shift. And this big square here in the chart shows us the possibilities. I have put Hygeia and Scorpio at the top. Hygeia is the asteroid of health and wellness, and she is within 1.5 degrees of vertex destiny. This is where our destiny lies, in Scorpio. Hygeia calls for radical self-care. That is what shifts Hygeia in the fixed water sign of Scorpio. And how does one do that? By shifting one's understanding of what is. For example, water is malleable. Water is programmable. Through our understanding that the human body is 80% water, we can understand that we can program our body, program the crystals to align with our highest health. And you and I can do that for your body and for my body. You do it for yourself. It's radical self-care because it's a reliance within. And this calls for doing the work. This calls for being willing to take care of yourself, for being willing to treat the body as it's important. The body is a blessed thing. Without the body, how would we be present on earth as living spiritual beings with living souls? Our living human form is of ultimate importance. This is our destiny, to understand these things. The action begins with Venus, radical self-love, and the willingness to know that you are worthy and deserving simply in being born as a child of God, as a child of the Creator, with a living spark of the divine, the living flame of the soul within. And right there with Venus is Ceres, the mother. She's 3.5 degrees from Venus, a bit wide, but moving towards her. We're called on to mother ourselves. Whether you're a man or a woman, to love and nurture ourselves, because it's that self-nurturing, whether it's of the beautiful male form or the beautiful female. It's that self-nurturing that is what is called for here in the fixed sign of Leo, the individual, the lion, the fire. So it calls for us to view self-love in a new way. And my invitation to you is to understand that you are worthy. You don't have to earn it. You are worthy of your love, and you already have the love of the Creator. Radical stability. How could this be the case with Uranus involved at this point? With the North Node, hello, about 3 degrees away. Can anyone say massive energy? Uranus, sudden shifts, sudden change, lightning fast insights. In the sign of Taurus, the ground, the earth. Taurus does not like to change. If you've ever known a Taurus, you know they don't find it comfortable. And if they're uncomfortable, nothing is going to be okay until they return to comfort. But here is a secret. Radical stability. What does that mean? How do you have comfort in the storm? Not in the eye, in the storm. You know, a shocking event happened to me several months ago. It was my own doing. And as soon as the shock came, I recognized that I was dealing with Uranus, Uranian energy. The way I achieved radical stability, because I felt like everything was falling apart, was the following. Number 1, reliance on divinity within. See the energy. Know this is Uranian. Radical change is going to happen here. I see it and I understand what's happening. Number 2, reliance on divinity, and trust, all will be turned to your highest good. Although it looks terrible, although it looks like a monumental challenge, choosing to shift one's attitude to acceptance, not of bad things happening to you, not of the traditional distorted view of acceptance. Acceptance in trust and faith. I will endure. I will survive and thrive. God's got my back. This will be turned to my highest good. I am loved. I am loved within. I will care for myself in this shocking environment. I will put myself first in alignment with divine will through me. I will align with how my soul guides me and act in the moment. And with the North Node, I have the energy to do so. And the North Node also symbolizes something new. And I like to think of the North Node as the ancient reptilian influence on humanity, that old reptilian brain in the back of the cerebellum, in the back of the brain. I guess it's behind the cerebellum. What's called for here when you see the North Node is, what is the new, completely different way I will approach this? There's very much a newness possibility. How will this unfold with the North Node? This is how, when something like the Earth seems like it should not be changing, how could it change? It's stable, it's here, it's been here for 4.8 billion years. But when there are shocking changes, this radical stability which comes from within, the eye of the storm, the centered gyroscope in motion, centered around the divine spark within the human heart that guides us, that assists in caring for us, and that tells us to step this way or that when great changes are being made. And that inner resilience and that inner reliance is what gets us through in the storm. Radical functionality. We've got Saturn in Aquarius. Isn't it interesting? Saturn so powerful as the ancient ruler of Aquarius, which is also now ruled by Uranus. So Saturn with Vesta within 8 degrees. And I'm counting the energy of Vesta here because it's a conjunction in a birth chart essentially for the new moon, but also because Vesta and Saturn conjuncted exactly some time ago and now have been going back and forth with each other, all in the sign of Aquarius. Although I think Vesta moved just slightly into Pisces for a short time there. Before, I've talked about this aspect, that to move forward into the future, which is the Uranian aspect of Aquarius, it requires us to reevaluate our home, the human home, and how do we function in the home? Because many, many of the issues of our society go back to dysfunctional families. And that doesn't mean that the men and women in the whole family structure is what its issue is at issue. Violet flame over that. No, that's what the illusion is telling you. The source of the dysfunction is also the source of the illusion that would misguide you, that would say, come here this way with me, and ignore how you really feel. So when we learn to get to the root of that dysfunction and heal it within the self, we achieve radical functionality. We function in alignment with our highest good, in perfection with our soul's expression, walking the soul path, with love and joy for the self, for me, for you. And as we heal our homes, as we right the energy of imbalance in the home, we build healthy communities, and then we build a healthy nation. Saturn is about structure. structure of the home. Saturn with the hearth. She's the goddess of the hearth, and she's the goddess who guards the sacred flame, the priestess who guards the sacred flame. So the home is sacred, and its structure is sacred. And look here. What do we have here? The balance between male and female is essential to the sacredness of the home. The honoring of Father, Saturn, and Mother, Ceres, is essential to the proper functioning of the home, to build healthy children, to have healthy and enduring relationships and marriages, ones in which children can be birthed in safety, security, and love. Ooh. And can we think that a miracle might occur? Uranus opposing Hygeia and destiny. The opposition with the North Node is exact. Destiny is right on the South Node, the past. So at the top of the chart, we're asked to overcome our past to improve the health of humanity. We have to overcome the past through radical self-care, radical self-love, radical stability, and radical functionality. And this is the secret of unlocking the energies of this challenging new moon. We're young. The energies are potent. But what we are building together, it might be shocking, it might be surprising, but it's an alignment with love, the Creator's love for us. This is the challenge. This is the hero's journey. And we see that here. You see, Pluto is the major planet influencing this wing of the Yod to Venus. And Pluto has been trine Sedna, the wounded child, for a very long time. Months. Pluto is about, in its ultimate form, connecting with the soul, burning off the detritus that is no longer mine, recovering the child within so that she becomes a goddess. Sedna becomes the goddess of the sea. She finds herself and changes forms. She expands into her divinity. That's what this chart is asking us to do. And it's a hero's journey. Here's Pallas Athena. Pallas Athena conjunct Fortune, semi-sextile Sedna. This is what's in the background. Semi-sextile, it's in the shadow. The hero's journey. We have good fortune, and we have the goddess who gives us the tools to support our victory. I wanted to review the Sabian symbols with you because they're amazing for this chart. How I would summarize this is that those who think differently, who are willing to think differently, are the ones who will create the future. I love that Apple ad that Steve Jobs narrates. Oh gosh, every time I watch it, my heart leaps. I'll put a link to it in the video details. He talks about, the radicals, the troublemakers, the whatever, the list goes on of those who think different and how the names they're called by. And we've been told that those are the people that tear down society. Really, Meanwhile, you'll see images of Martin Luther King on the screen. You'll see images of Thomas Edison. You'll see images of Gandhi. These are people who elevated society because they essentially broke the matrix through the force of the divine through them. It's the divine force that elevates them. It's those ideas that they bring through those actions because they are spiritually motivated. What they bring through is greater than who they are as an individual human. So let's take a look here. The new moon and the sun are at Virgo 5. And these are the Sabian symbols. Sabian symbols are 1 degree forward because you look at the expression of the energy. It's about man becoming aware, new levels of consciousness. Virgo 5, where the sun and moon are at, is about a man who's now becoming aware of what has been hidden around him in the natural world. And in becoming aware, he begins to achieve new levels of consciousness. And this is what I'm talking about moving into radical functionality, radical self-care, radical self-love, and radical stability. It's a completely new approach, and we are at the beginning. Hygeia is at Scorpio 16, a girl's face breaking into a smile. It's about faith in life. It's about faith in other humans. We are the ones that get us through these difficult times. Destiny, the vertex, is at Scorpio 17, a woman who's great with child. She's about to give birth. There are hidden potentials here, hidden potentials in the average everyday human. They're hidden in the sign of Scorpio here. But remember that Venus is birthed fully formed. Although we're at the beginning of these energies, we come with great experience, great skill sets, great inner value. And when we connect and when we get that insight, we're able to birth something fully formed. Venus is at Leo 20, Zuni Indian rituals to the sun. The sun representing the soul. I don't know how else, what a wonderful symbol, how else you could properly describe radical self-love. The love of the sun, the love of the soul, the outer representing the inner. We have value, Venus, which rules Taurus, simply because we are divine energy incarnate. It reinforces the message that radical self-love is appropriate now. Ceres is at a storm ended, rejoicing in the sun. This is about new beginnings, and it's so amazing that it's also on a symbol that calls the sun to mind. Rejoicing in the sun. It's the soul, the light of the soul that gets us through safely, on which we can rely, the energy of the divine itself. Saturn is at the symbol for disillusioned and disappointed. A woman faces an empty life. A woman with sharp disappointments in life is asked to call upon her inner resilience. And how many women feel this way who are older now? Their homes are in shambles, and so are the homes of their men, represented by Saturn. Look what the last few decades has wrought for us in our societies. Unhappy women, unhappy lives, disappointment. And it's all about recovering the value, understanding that you are the value, and bringing that in a structured way into the home, understanding that partnership is valuable. How do we create balance? How do we live in love and respect within the home? How do we develop a stable community? These are the key energies involved. Vesta, the sacred hearth, the sacred fire, is at a butterfly emerging from the chrysalis, 29 Aquarius. I can't think of a more beautiful symbol for the renewal of the sacred human home. Uranus is at a new continent rising out of the ocean. There are potentials here that are incredible. There are natural forces at play that are not controllable by human beings. Radical stability, the reliance on the divine within, and understanding how to stay centered in a storm is what's called for here, because major changes are at play in Taurus, and it won't be comfortable. The North Node is at swords and torches, a battle of swords and torches. The spiritual war is ongoing. There are rewards here for the daring individual. And what can be more daring than radical trust and faith and reliance on the divine, on creating a relationship, a personal relationship with that which is who you truly are, and moving forward from within. These are the energies of this radical new moon, and I hope that you find this story of the new moon energies as hopeful as I have found it, because it's shown me that by having faith, by having trust, by taking steps in the real world to love myself, to treat myself with care, with value, to do the things I really don't want to do for my health, for my home, for my relationships, by acting as if that which I care about is valuable in the real world, and by relying on that divine connection to move me through the storm with purpose, staying connected with my soul, life will transform in alignment with my highest good, unfolding, no matter how that looks in the moment.